The ship was falling, smoke poured from broken vents, alarms screamed, and the stars outside twisted into a blur. Captain Ray Thorne gripped the controls with shaking hands. The ship, Pathfinder 12, had lost power after a freak energy surge during the hyperspace jump. Now it was crashing toward an unmarked planet on the edge of the galaxy. Ray had less than a minute to live if he didn't land safely. He had no choice. He pulled the emergency lever. The landing thrusters kicked in late, weak, but better than nothing. The ship hit the ground with a force that knocked him unconscious. When Ray opened his eyes, everything was quiet. The ship was tilted to one side. Panels had burst open, wires hung like jungle vines, and the scent of burnt metal filled the cabin. Blood trickled from his forehead. He dragged himself up. He checked the oxygen. It was breathable. Gravity was close to Earth's. That was something. But as he looked out the window, a strange chill ran down his spine. The planet was silent. No birds, no wind, no animals, just endless grass fields and smooth purple trees. It felt fake, like a painting without a soul. He grabbed his backpack and stepped outside. His boots crunched against dry, pale grass. The sky was violet blue, the sun oddly dull. It should have felt peaceful, but it didn't. Something was wrong. He was being watched. Ray felt it deep in his gut. That old instinct. From his days in the outer war, he scanned the horizon. No movement. No sound. Just a calm, empty world. Then something brushed against his leg. He turned fast, weapon raised. Nothing there. No wind. No movement. He held his breath. Listened. Silence. He took another step, and again, something touched his boot. He looked down. Still nothing, but then, he heard breathing, very faint. Right beside him. Ray slowly turned his head. Nothing. He walked away quickly, moving toward the nearest hill. Maybe from the top he could see a river, a village, anything. He reached the top and gasped. The planet wasn't empty at all. Buildings, huge, alien structures stood below. But they were transparent, flickering like holograms. Floating spires, web-like bridges, spiral towers, all hidden by some kind of cloak. It wasn't just the buildings. Movement flashed below, shadows, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, but no shape. No bodies. Just invisible beings. He reached for his scanner and aimed it at the valley. It beeped, showed heat signatures. Too many. All humanoid, all female. He blinked, confused. Invisible alien women? Before he could think more, something grabbed his wrist. He spun and saw nothing. But the grip was real. Warm, soft, strong. Who's there? He shouted. Silence. The grip loosened. And the air shimmered. A shape appeared, slowly, glitching into vision like bad camo tech. First, a hand delicate, with long fingers and glowing veins. Then, the rest of her. She stood before him, tall, slender, glowing skin with shifting colors like glass underwater. She had long flowing hair that floated even without wind. Her eyes were silver, wide, and curious. And scared. She wasn't alone. Others shimmered into view around her. 3, 5, then more. All women. All beautiful. All alien. They surrounded him, but kept their distance. The first one spoke. Her voice was melodic, soft, like music. You shouldn't be here, human. Ray swallowed hard. I didn't mean to crash. I didn't know this planet was. She held up a hand. No one knows. That's how we survive. He looked around. What is this place? She hesitated. A prison. A sanctuary. A trap. Ray's heart pounded. He had crash-landed in the middle of something ancient and hidden. Something secret. I'll leave, he said quickly. Just tell me where I can find help. The alien girl looked sad. You can't leave, not anymore. Then the others stepped closer. And Ray saw their expressions. They weren't just watching him. They were studying him. Measuring him, like he was the first real thing they'd seen in years. What do you mean I can't leave?" Ray asked. The girl looked at him, her silver eyes wide and shimmering. "Because they will come for you now." "You broke the silence. The war begins again." Ray shook his head. "What war?" She said only one word, "Us." And in that moment, the sky cracked open. A loud hum filled the air. Ray turned and saw strange ships, sleek, black, and sharp, descending from orbit. Not human ships. Not rescue. Something had noticed him landing, something dangerous, and Ray realized he hadn't just crashed. He had awakened something. Something old, something hungry, something that had been waiting for a human to return. But he wasn't alone anymore. He was in the middle of an invisible war, and every eye, visible or not, was now on him. Ray stood frozen on the hilltop as the alien ships descended through the violet sky like black arrows. The wind, which had been still before, began to stir. It carried a sharp electric scent. His instincts screamed run, hide, fight, anything but stand still. But his legs didn't move. The alien girl in front of him, her body still glowing faintly with color, watched the ships with fear. "They found us," she whispered. Ray turned to her. "Who are they?" "The collectors," she said softly. "They hunt us, and now you too." Suddenly, the ground shook. A low hum buzzed in his bones. The floating towers in the valley below faded further, becoming almost invisible again, as if hiding themselves. The group of alien women around him began to vanish one by one, their bodies slipping back into invisibility. Only the first girl remained visible. "Come with me," she said quickly. "You'll die if you stay here." Ray didn't argue. They ran. She moved fast, gliding over the ground without sound. He stumbled behind, dodging alien roots and glowing stones. Every few seconds, he looked up at the sky. The ships weren't firing, not yet. But they were landing, fast, controlled, like they knew exactly where he was. "How do they know I'm here?" he asked between breaths. "You're loud," she said without turning. "Humans glow too, not your skin, your presence. You don't know how to hide it." Ray's heart pounded harder. "Are you saying I led them here?" "Yes." Guilt slammed into his chest. He hadn't just crashed, he'd exposed them. These invisible girls were hiding from someone. And now that someone was coming, they reached a flat stone near a tall tree that had branches like arms curled in pain. The girl placed her palm on the stone, and it split down the center with a soft hiss. A hidden stairway appeared, leading into the ground. "In," she ordered. Ray went first, unsure if it was a trap, but having no better choice. She followed and sealed the entrance behind them. The stairs led into darkness at first, then into soft green light. Strange orbs floated in the air, glowing dimly, showing the walls made of smooth crystal instead of stone. Ray looked around in awe. "You live down here?" "We hide here," she corrected. They entered a larger chamber, oval-shaped, with more orbs and several other alien girls already waiting. Some looked at him with suspicion, others with hope. Most said nothing. Ray turned to the girl who had saved him. "You haven't told me your name." She hesitated. "Names are dangerous. But you can call me Kelia." "All right, Kelia," he said, trying to calm his breath. "What are those things outside? Who are the collectors?" Kelia looked at the others, then back to him. "They were once our protectors. Centuries ago, we trusted them. But they turned. They wanted our bodies, our blood, our ability to vanish. They wanted control." Ray frowned. "You mean, like soldiers?" Kelia nodded slowly. "Breeders, ghost assassins. We refused, we fought, we hid. And then we disappeared from the stars." Ray's stomach twisted. "And they've been hunting you ever since?" "Yes. They wiped out every one of us on other worlds. We are all that's left. This planet was our last home, hidden, safe. Until I showed up." Ray thought bitterly. Kelia sat across from him. "Your ship made a noise, A signal, you couldn't help it. But they picked it up. They're already walking the surface. Ray stood up. Then we have to stop them before they find this place. You don't understand, she said. They don't need to search. They feel us. And now they feel you. The room grew quiet. The other girls looked uneasy. You brought light back here, Kellia said. But you also brought death. Ray clenched his fists. So what, we just hide? Wait to be taken? Kellia narrowed her eyes. We've been hiding for generations. Most of us don't know how to fight anymore. I do, Ray said. I'm not leaving you. If I started this, I'll end it. One of the other girls spoke then, her voice quiet and cold. How can one human defeat ships and weapons built to destroy stars? Ray didn't answer right away. He walked to the edge of the room, pulled a small case from his backpack and opened it. Inside, a smooth cylinder, the emergency beacon. It could call for help, but it could also call worse. He stared at it, then looked back at them. I don't need to win the war. Just stall them. Long enough for someone to find us. Kellia stepped forward. We can cloak you. Just enough, not fully, but you might survive a little longer. He met her eyes. Then teach me. I'll fight. But I need to know how to vanish. For the first time since he met her, Kellia smiled. A soft, sad smile. Then you better learn fast, human. Because they're already digging. And high above, on the surface of the quiet, empty world, black boots touched the ground. Silent. Precise. The collectors had arrived. And they had already started to feel him. Asterisk. The underground chamber felt colder now. Ray sat cross-legged on the smooth floor, eyes closed, trying to stay still. Kellia moved silently around him, her hands glowing faintly with shifting colors. Tiny particles in the air began to circle him like dust caught in moonlight. Every time he breathed too loudly or shifted his posture, they scattered, and Kellia sighed in frustration. You're too loud, she whispered. I'm not even speaking, Ray muttered, his eyes still shut. Your body speaks. Your energy leaks. You breathe like a storm. He opened his eyes and looked at her. I wasn't exactly trained to hide from people who can smell thoughts. Kellia narrowed her eyes, but the corner of her lip twitched like she was trying not to smile. You're doing better than most males would. Not sure if that's a compliment. Kellia knelt in front of him. It is, barely. One of the younger alien girls, Nira, ran into the chamber, breathless and pale. They're closer, she said. Less than 2 hills away. I saw their cloaked drones scanning the grass. The chamber grew quiet. Kellia stood. We have to collapse the top tunnel. If they find the surface entrance, they'll come straight down. Nira looked worried. What if they already know where we are? Kellia didn't answer. Ray stood, brushing the fine particles off his arms. Let me help with the collapse. I have charges in my gear. Kellia looked at him. Won't that make noise? Yes, Ray said. But better they hear a cave-in than find the real door. Kellia gave a quick nod. Do it. But be fast. Ray climbed the stone stairs again, this time with a charge pack strapped to his belt. The narrow path to the surface was still lit with faint green light, but shadows danced behind him and every breath echoed too loudly in his ears. He reached the top and peered through the slight cracks in the stone. The land above was quiet, but not peaceful. He saw faint heat ripples, moving across the field, drone cloaks, watching, waiting. He quickly set the explosives on both sides of the entrance, backed down halfway, and triggered the timer. A dull thump shook the stairway. Dust and stone rained down. The tunnel filled with smoke. Kellia met him halfway down with a tense look. Did they see you? I don't think so, but they'll know something's here now. Back in the chamber, the alien girls were moving. Supplies, pushing glowing stones into hidden cracks, covering strange alien scrolls with dust to make them look like rubble. This wasn't the first time they had hidden from enemies, But this time was different. This time, the enemy wasn't just hunting them. They were hunting him, too. They must have felt your landing, Kalia said to Ray as she handed him a thin metal strip. Wrap this around your chest. It'll slow your presence down. He stared at it. Slow my presence? Kalia leaned close. Your thoughts. Your heartbeat. Your intention. They track that. This will help blur you. Ray obeyed, wrapping the strip beneath his jacket. It buzzed faintly against his ribs. His thoughts felt slower, like he was thinking underwater. He didn't like it, but he trusted Kalia now. You really don't have soldiers? He asked. Kalia shook her head. Most were taken long ago. We're the hidden, the untrained. The ones who escaped and stayed invisible. You don't need to stay invisible anymore, Ray said. You need to fight. One of the girls, taller, with sharp blue markings down her arms, stepped forward. Fight how? With what? We have no weapons. No ships, no army. Ray looked around the chamber. You have knowledge. You have tech, you have me. The girl snorted. One human? Ray stepped forward. One human who knows how to fight, how to sabotage, how to think like them. Kalia put her hand on Ray's chest. He's right, we've waited too long. Hiding isn't survival anymore. It's just delay. She turned to the others. We'll show him the old place. Murmurs filled the room. Shock. Fear. Resistance.nyr stepped forward. But that place is cursed. No, Kalia said. It's forgotten. That's why it's safe. Ray looked between them. What old place? Kalia turned to him, her voice low. The Vault of Mirrors. Where the last warriors stored their weapons before they vanished. Ray's eyes widened. You have weapons? Buried, abandoned, trapped in silence. But they're still there. If we can reach them, then let's go, Ray said. Kalia nodded. We leave at nightfall. You'll need to pass through the shimmer fields. Only those who are trusted can walk that path. Ray frowned. Trusted how? She leaned in, her voice a whisper. They will see your soul. Ray swallowed hard. Far above, in the gray grass of the quiet field, one of the collector drones flickered and beeped. It had found something. A human footprint. Still warm. Night. On the planet didn't feel safe. The sky turned deep violet, and the air grew colder. But there were no stars, no moon. Only moving clouds that sometimes glowed from within. Ray had seen many strange worlds, but this one felt like it was watching him back. He followed Kalia and the others through a narrow path between tall, twisting trees. Their glowing leaves curled away from the girls as they passed, like they were afraid to touch them. Every step felt heavier, slower, as if the ground didn't want him there. Are we close? He whispered. Kalia didn't answer right away. She was focused. Her body shimmered faintly, still cloaked in partial invisibility. Soon, she said finally, but the path will test you. Ray adjusted the strap on his shoulder. His pulse hadn't calmed since they left the chamber. He kept looking over his shoulder. He couldn't see the collectors, but he could feel them behind the trees. Or maybe beneath them. Nyra, walking just ahead, looked back at him. Have you ever walked through a shimmer field before? No, Ray said. We don't have anything like that. Mira nodded slowly. It's alive. It listens. If it doesn't accept you, it will turn you around forever. Or bury you in illusion until you go mad. Sounds fun, Ray muttered. They stopped at the edge of a wide clearing. It looked empty at first, but as Ray blinked, strange patterns began to shimmer in the air. Lines like light reflecting water. Shapes moved behind them, shadows, sometimes limbs, sometimes eyes, but never clear. Kalia stepped forward and turned to him. Stay close, and no matter what you see, do not speak. Do not break the line. Ray nodded. They stepped in. At once, the air changed. The shimmer field wasn't just strange, it was alive. It whispered things he couldn't understand. Sounds he couldn't place. He felt pressure in his ears and a heat behind his eyes. Shapes moved around him. A flicker to the left looked like his childhood home. A scream to the right sounded like his old war commander. But he didn't turn his head. He followed Kelya, one step. Then the next. The shimmer wanted him to break, to lose focus, to trust the wrong shadow. He saw his mother's face. She was crying, reaching for him. But she'd been dead for years. He gritted his teeth. Not real. He saw Kelya too, but not the one walking ahead of him. This one stood still, smiling gently, arms open. He froze. "Ray," she whispered. His foot moved before he realized it. Toward her. Then a cold hand grabbed his wrist and yanked him back. It was the real Kelya. "Don't stop," she hissed. He nodded quickly. "Sorry. You almost fell into a ghost echo," she said. "One more step and you'd still be standing. They're years from now thinking you were home." Ray swallowed hard and kept moving. They all did. After a long, painful silence, the shimmer field faded. The air cleared. And they stood before a strange structure made of silver stone and spiraling roots. It looked more grown than built. Crystals lined the edges and broken weapons lay half buried in the ground. Ray stepped forward carefully. "This is the Vault of Mirrors?" "Yes," Kelya said. "What's left of it?" The large stone door pulsed with soft light. It had no handle, no buttons, no key. Only a flat circle in the center. Kelya placed her hand there. The stone glowed and shifted, forming a pattern of vines and stars. The door opened slowly with a deep sighing sound. Inside was silence. Cold and deep, they entered. The walls inside were smooth, glowing with faint green lines. The room wasn't large, just enough for a few people to stand. In the center was a mirrored pedestal with a glass case resting on top. Inside the case were 6 long silver rods, thin as fingers and pulsing with power. Ray stared. "Are those weapons?" "More than weapons," Kelya said. "They bind energy. They cut through phase armor. They don't make noise. But they steal something when used." "Like what?" "Time," she said quietly. "A little from the enemy. A little from you." Ray nodded. "Still worth it." Kelya touched the case, and it slid open. She handed him one rod. It felt weightless, but powerful, like holding lightning in sleep. He clipped it to his belt and took a second one for backup. Suddenly, Nira gasped and spun. The walls behind them shimmered. A sound echoed, slow, hollow footsteps. "They found us," Nira whispered. Kelya turned to Ray. "We run now." "No," Ray said, stepping forward, eyes sharp. "We fight now." He raised the silver rod. And outside the vault, something unseen growled low and ancient. It was not just a drone. This time, it was a collector in the flesh. The growl came again, deeper this time, vibrating through the walls of the vault. Dust fell from the ceiling. The alien girls froze in place. Even Kelya looked pale. Ray stepped forward slowly, gripping the silver rod in his hand. "Is that one of them?" Kelya nodded. "Yes, a real one, not a drone. Not a machine. That's a firstborn." Ray didn't like the sound of that. "What does it want?" Kelya whispered. "Us, alive if possible, broken if needed." Ray narrowed his eyes. "Then we don't give it what it wants." The sound of movement outside grew louder. Something heavy dragged across the ground. Slow, deliberate footsteps echoed, mixed with the soft sound of something breathing, raspy, unhuman, unnatural. Kelya moved quickly. She handed out rods to the others. "Don't activate them unless you have to. Once lit, they drain. And once drained, they shatter." Ray pointed to the back of the room. "Is there another exit?" Kelya shook her head. "Only the shimmer field again. But it'll be watching that." Ray looked at the crystal-lined walls. "Then we make our own exit." He placed a charge. from his belt pack against the far wall. Not enough to bring down the vault, just enough to make a hole. As he set the timer, the front of the vault groaned. The door. It was opening, but Kelly hadn't touched it. Step back, Ray shouted. They all moved away from the entrance. The door didn't swing, it melted, slowly folding away like wax and fire, and standing there was something Ray couldn't quite understand. It had a humanoid shape, tall, armored, made of slick black plates with glowing veins. But its face was hidden behind a mask with no eyes, just a single vertical slit like a scar. Its body moved like it was underwater, slow but too smooth. Its voice didn't come from a mouth, it echoed in the mind. Human, you were not invited. Ray raised the rod. Didn't get the memo, he said. You bring light to this graveyard. I bring a fight. The creature stepped in. Kelly shouted, now! Ray hit the detonator. Boom. The back wall exploded outward in a blast of rock and light. The girls dashed for the opening, coughing through smoke. Ray stayed behind just a second longer, rod raised, facing the firstborn. The alien stepped forward, and the silver rod in Ray's hand pulsed. Ray thrust it forward. The tip flashed, and a stream of silent light shot into the creature's chest. It staggered back, groaning. But it didn't fall. It turned its masked head to Ray. You carry old sins. Ray spat, then let me pay. He turned and ran through the hole. Outside, the trees glowed brighter than before. The shimmer field was still close, but the girls didn't head toward it. Kelly grabbed Ray's arm and yanked him in a different direction. This way, she shouted. Through the roots. They entered a twisted forest where thick roots grew from every direction, above, below, sideways. The roots pulsed softly, with color like veins. They weren't just trees. They were alive. A network. A system. Kelly pressed her hand against one, and it shifted, opening a path inside. The group rushed in. The inside was dark but warm. The walls of the tunnel felt soft, breathing almost. The air buzzed with life. Ray could hear the roots shifting. Above, closing behind them. That thing, he said between breaths. Why didn't it kill me? Kelly answered without stopping. It wants you taken, not dead. You're a new weapon. Or a problem they want to study. Ray clenched his fists. Let them try. They stopped in a wide chamber under the roots. A pool of light glowed in the center. Mira and the others collapsed to the floor, exhausted. Ray leaned against a wall, breathing hard. Kelly faced him. You stood against a firstborn and lived. Didn't feel like much of a win. She stepped closer. It was. No one has done that in 100 years. Ray looked around. Then maybe it's time someone started. Kelly looked at him for a long moment. You were meant to crash. Here. No, Ray said. But maybe I was meant to stay. Outside the root tunnels, the firstborn knelt in the broken vault. It placed a hand on the shattered stone and whispered something in a forgotten tongue. The ground answered. The shimmer field above collapsed in a wave of light, revealing everything it had hidden. The hunt was no longer quiet. Now it had begun. Asterisk deep. Inside the root tunnels, Ray sat near the glowing pool, watching steam rise gently from the surface. His body ached. His arm had a shallow burn from where the firstborn's energy had grazed him. But it wasn't the pain that troubled him. It was the silence. Too quiet. Even Kelly noticed. She walked slowly around the chamber, hand on the wall, her glowing fingertips pulsing with worry. The roots have stopped speaking, she said. Ray looked up. What does that mean? It means the forest is afraid. The others sat huddled together nearby, their rods gripped tight, their glowing cloaks faded. These girls had survived all their lives by hiding. Now hiding was no longer working. Ray stood. We can't keep running. We need to strike back. Kelly looked at him. Strike with what? One rod each? No ships, no shields. Ray's voice lowered. You said I brought light with me. Maybe. That wasn't a curse. Maybe it's what you needed. She blinked, unsure. You've survived in the shadows, he continued. But you were never meant to disappear forever. The Firstborn made you believe that. They made you afraid to fight. We lost everything last time, Kalia said softly. Then it's time to win something. Kalia stepped close. Her silver eyes searched his face. What do you want from us? Help me get to my ship, Ray said. If I can reach it, I can rid the signal booster. I can send a call to the old colonies. There are humans out there who still fight. Kalia's voice was full of doubt. It crashed. It was torn apart. Only on the outside, Ray said. The core should still be intact, she hesitated. You really think someone will come for you? I don't know, he said. But I'm not letting those monsters keep hunting you like prey. Nira stood from the corner. If he tries to go up, he'll be seen. The shimmer is gone. We'll all be exposed. Then we fight our way there, Ray said. I'll take the lead. You just cover me. No more hiding. Kalia looked around at the others. They were scared, but they listened. For the first time, they had someone willing to walk ahead of them into danger. A human. We go together, she said finally. Ray gave a nod. They moved out. The tunnels shifted as they walked, guiding them upward. The roots opened reluctantly, groaning like old bones. They reached the surface just before dawn. The sky was blood red now, strange, angry. The shimmer field was gone, melted into the air. Nothing was hidden anymore. And waiting near the hill were 3 collector drones. They hovered silently, black and sharp, scanning the horizon. One turned slightly, then froze. It saw them. Ray didn't hesitate. He lifted his rod, and the moment it pulsed, a beam of white light shot forward, striking the first drone in the center. It sizzled, sparked, and dropped like a rock. The others spun, but Kalia was already moving. Her rod flashed, slicing one drone in half with a clean hum. Nira and another girl struck the third from both sides, cracking it open with a burst of force. Ray stared at them. They weren't warriors, but they were learning fast. That felt good, Nira said breathlessly. Kalia looked toward the distant hills. More will come. We must move now. They ran. The burned field where Ray's ship had crashed was in the distance. The wreckage still steamed slightly. 2 black collector walkers paced around the broken metal guarding it. Ray crouched low in the grass. We'll draw them away. Kalia pointed to the nearby ridge. We can split around both sides. Circle them. Ray gave her a sharp look. That's risky. We don't have time to be safe anymore, she said. Ray smiled. I like this version of you. They split. Ray went left. Kalia and 2 girls went right. Nira stayed behind with the others, waiting for the signal. Ray moved through the grass, low, careful. The closer he got, the more he could feel the power still alive inside the ship's core. His beacon was there, still pulsing, still calling. He needed to reach it, but one of the collector walkers stopped. It turned. It felt him before it could react. Kalia leapt from behind and struck it with her rod. The weapon sparked, but the walker didn't fall. It spun, knocking her back with a blast of energy. Ray jumped from his hiding spot and shouted, "Over here!" The second walker charged at him. Ray ran straight into the wreck, diving into the cockpit. Sparks rained down. Wires dangled like vines. He ripped the beacon out of its panel and slammed it into a portable power cell. The light turned. Green. Signal sent. The walkers roared. Ray stood in the wreckage, exposed, weapon raised. He didn't know if help would come, but now the galaxy knew where he was, and the war had just become very real. Ray stood in the middle of the wreckage, the signal beacon glowing in his hand, pulsing like a heartbeat. The walkers had fully turned toward him now. Their long limbs cracked the dirt as they marched closer, red lights blinking across their chests. Behind them, The sky swirled with gray fire, like the planet itself was reacting to the signal being sent. Kellia limped toward the wreck, one hand pressed against her ribs, her face pale from the earlier blast. "What did you do?" she shouted. "I called for help," Ray answered. "Now we just have to survive long enough for it to arrive." The first walker raised its weapon. Ray didn't wait. He threw the silver rod forward like a spear. It struck the walker just beneath its center joint. A burst of white light exploded from the impact, knocking the machine back a step. It groaned, sparks bursting from its side, but it didn't fall. The second one opened fire. Kellia dove forward and grabbed a broken piece of shielding from the ship, throwing it like a disc. It slammed into the walker's head, deflecting its shock just enough to miss Ray by inches. Ray ducked behind the cockpit, yanked a second rod from his belt, and activated it. "We can't hold them off like this forever." Kellia crouched beside him, breathing hard. "Then we end it now." Together they moved. Kellia dashed left, Ray ran right. The walkers split their attention, one chasing each. But they hadn't counted on the others. From the hills, Nira and the remaining girls attacked. Their rods glowed like white fire in the rising dawn. The drones that guarded the wreck were caught off guard. Sparks lit the sky. Alien voices shouted in the distance. Ray charged the second walker, dodging its heavy limbs. He slid beneath its legs and stabbed the silver rod into the soft seam behind its knee joint. The pulse knocked him backward, but the walker finally tipped and fell, smashing into the ground with a deafening crash. Kellia landed on the remaining walker's back, drove her weapon deep into its neck, and held on as the light surged through it. She screamed with effort as the machine convulsed and fell to one side. Silence followed. For a moment, only the crackle of smoke filled the air. Ray looked around. They had won, but the sky said otherwise. Above them, a tear opened in the clouds. A long swirling gash in the atmosphere. A collector ship emerged, sleek, giant, black like obsidian. It didn't land. It hovered, watching, waiting. It had no windows, no visible weapons, but Ray felt its presence. Kellia stepped beside him. "That's not a drone," Ray nodded. "That's a command ship." The ship made no sound, no warning. Then, a voice filled the air. "You are not enough." Kellia gripped his arm. "They're talking to you." Ray stared up. "Good, let them hear me." He walked forward, out into the open, past the broken walkers, past the smoking ship. He stood alone under the collector ship. "I'm just one human," he said aloud. "But I'm not alone anymore." A strange pause filled the air. That a hum deep and sharp built in the clouds. Suddenly, the sky behind them lit up. A flash. Then another dot and another. Bright, white trails streaked across the atmosphere. Ships. Human ships. They came. Old colony cruisers, combat vessels, smaller jumpers, all marked with the Earth Alliance emblem, long thought dead in this part of the galaxy. Ray smiled. "Took you long enough." The collector ship shifted slightly in the air. Then it turned. It didn't fire. It didn't threaten. It fled. It vanished in a blink, tearing through space faster than any human ship could follow. Kellia stared in awe. "Why did they leave?" Ray lowered his weapon. "Because they lost the only thing they controlled, your fear." The other girls came running to him. For the first time, they weren't hiding in the shadows. They stood proud, tired but alive. A human captain descended from one of the ships and approached Ray. "We picked up your signal. Heard you were surrounded." Ray gestured to the broken drones. "Not anymore." The captain looked at Kellia. "And the other alien girls, they're with you?" "They are," Ray said firmly. "And they're not invisible anymore." Kellia looked up at him. "So what happens now?" Ray smiled, placing a hand gently over hers. "Now we stop running, together." And from that broken world once thought empty rose a new alliance. Not built on fear, but on survival, truth, and one impossible crash that changed everything.